Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Business Talk Library. And today I have a great guest on. And as you know, if you've been watching any of our episodes, I always love having finance professionals on. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a little biased because, that's my background. But I think when it comes to running, leading, and growing a business, the finance component of that strategy is very, very important. So I want to welcome to the show Lance Rubin. So welcome to the show, Lance.
Thanks, Terrell. Great to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, before we jump into, the story and what your two companies are doing, tell us a little bit. What was your background before starting Full Stack Modeler?
So I was an accountant, pretty much like yourself. I spent a lot of the time in PwC. I studied accounting. Was an article clerk. Yes, I did. I heard your other interview with someone else talking about inventory and counting inventory. So I counted medical equipment and catheters once. I've also counted a whole range of weird and wonderful things. But yeah, sort of went through the traditional path, becoming a chartered accountant in South Africa. So for those, and thanks for pronouncing my name the way South Africans pronounce it, as opposed to Americans or Aussies. So I spend a lot of my time just getting the fundamentals of accounting. And I always loved Excel. So I always loved Excel from the start. When I started, I actually had Lotus and Excel, and just always I was looking for ways in which to improve the way I do my audits and I manage data. My late father was in technology, so I was always loved technology and I loved accounting and finance. And then I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I figured, well, let me just get an accounting and finance degree, and then I'll figure that stuff out later. The GFC came along, and sorry, I left accounting and I went into an investment bank. So learned financial modeling as part of that, corporate finance, mergers, IPOs. Was doing all sorts of crazy models. The GFC hit, and sort of went back into the finance team because really I realized that the skills of financial modeling are actually really useful in finance. And most people were just doing like budgets and forecasting. They weren't actually doing modeling. Now, budgeting and forecasting is a type of modeling, but modeling is a much bigger thing. It's about scenario analysis and sensitivities and what if and simulations if you want to get complex. But there's a huge opportunity. And so I went into finance, spent 7 years at the National Australia Bank, which is one of the big four banks locally. And I had a team of 26 staff. And then I realized in the end that there was an opportunity for me to do more than just train my team. And so through multiple restructures, I decided to take the golden ticket and start my own business. So Model Citizn started 4.5 years ago. And through that, I've always been focused on technology and recently launched Full Stack Modeler with two other modeling firms in the UK, being Clarity and Gridlines. So my co-founders are passionate about modeling, changing the way that finance professionals add value. So that's what brought me here, really, and it's pretty exciting.
Nice, nice. Now, one of the things that is interesting to me is, as you started off in kind of the accounting route of working in public accounting, what was that mental shift like going from accounting to more finance? Because there are a lot of people that I know that have an accounting background, and sometimes they don't really understand the different mindset that you have to be in finance versus the technical accounting side.
So Terrell, I was very fortunate because I had both. I was an auditor inside the banking sector. So I was auditing banks. So actually finance was part of my audit career. Most other people do accounting in sort of entertainment or technology or other areas which don't cover finance because they cover products and manufacturing and so you don't really touch finance a lot, but because I was in the banking and financial services sector and we were auditing banks, we had to look at loan books. We had to understand derivatives. We had to understand, all these complexities around finance, which I guess I always, again, typical accountant, go where the money is. There's lots of money in banking, so I'll go to banking, right? And it's more complex. And I felt, well, I'm going somewhere, it's more complex, I'll get paid more, why not? And I enjoyed the complexity that banking offers. And now with fintechs, and I was a CFO for a fintech startup, Banjo, along that journey, which I skipped. But having the skills and understanding finance is hugely powerful. So I think when you combine finance and accounting together, then I think it's a great recipe for just to achieve almost anything, because understanding finance, as you say, is not the same as accounting, and it's important to understand that distinction.
Gotcha, gotcha. And then the other thing was, as you started to, develop, Model Citizen, and the idea came about that, like, was there, what was that like, going from, hey, you had worked in these major organizations, you had worked with banks, but now you were getting to that point where it's like, hey, I want to, say, take that golden ticket and do my own thing. What was that process like for you?
It was scary. I mean, there's no other word to say it was scary, but I had an opportunity in my career. The payout that I got from my salary was effectively a 10-month payout, right?
Wow.
So I basically had paid out as part of a redundancy. I got paid 10 months worth of salary. And so I thought, well, I'm going to invest in myself. There's extra 2 months. And I told my wife this, and I said, well, I'm going to take a year. I'm going to try. And if I fail, I'll go back and get a job. And actually, the worst I've lost is 2 months of salary, right? Absolute worst. But again, being an accountant, I didn't want to do that completely on its own. So I actually became a permanent part-time CFO for a
Okay.
startup. So I left the corporate, jumped into a smaller organization, doing 2 days a week as their CFO. So, the 10 months of sort of, how would I say, buffer time or cushion money became, very quickly became 12, because I was earning 2 days a week an income. And so it just sort of happened. Like, it just, the risk and the anxiety around starting my own business, things started to accelerate. I got a virtual assistant. I started to scale my time. I now have 5 full-time staff. And I've got, a range of a dozen contractors working for me all over the world, where we pull them in on a project basis. So a lot of the work we do is project based. And yeah, it's exciting. And then now with full stack, now I'm doing a whole new thing around a SaaS business, which is obviously software as a service, but in the education space. I used to train people, but I was traveling to India and Sri Lanka and South Africa and across Australia and New Zealand. But as a result of the pandemic, I can't travel anymore. You can't leave Australia. And so, this was an opportunity to actually still do education and training, but in a digital way.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Awesome. So speaking of that, so let's talk a little bit more about, when people look at Model Citizen, like when they're, what are the services that, or the products that Model Citizen offers?
So our elevator pitch, nice and short and sharp, is we help businesses solve complexity by making relevant, informed, and purposeful decisions with insight. So for us, our service is to help better decision making. Now that's the why in what we're trying to do. The how, we might build Power BI analytics, we might do a little bit of automation of some of the data to do that, and we build financial models. So probably 60 to 70% of our work is building financial models in Excel. And they're called 3-way financial models because they've got an income statement, a balance sheet, and a cash flow. So they look at all of the aspects of business strategy, not just the profit and loss. So revenue vanity, profit sanity, cash is king. And we look at cash. So we cash flow modeling a range of different companies from small to large. So it's a consulting business. I mean, fundamentally, we're a consulting business.
Yeah, I can definitely say that there's huge value there. I know one of the roles that I had where I was working with a company, and we were in the process where we went through 2 acquisitions where we bought a company for 20 million, then we bought another one for about 22 million, and then we raised, 40 plus million in private equity funding. And I will say the models that we built, similar to what you said, the 3-way model. So it became huge in helping us navigate decisions. I think a lot of times business owners don't quite understand the value, or even just business leaders understand the value they get when they actually start getting a 3-way model versus just a P&L, and that's it.
Yeah, totally
Mhm.
agree.
So now when it comes down to full stack modeler, so what is it that people can expect from a full stack modeler?
So full stack is really, as I said, bringing my knowledge and experience and my co-founder's knowledge and experience. So Kenny Whitelaw Jones has been in project finance for a very long time, most of his career, training people to build project finance models. So those are massive models around energy and gas and roads, bridges, infrastructure. Like that's a whole new level of modeling. That's 25, 30 years of cash flows projections, right? With construction, monthly construction moving into quarterly operating. So I think Kenny's going to do that part. There's Giles who's going to focus on Excel. Kenny's also going to help with the advanced financial modeling and financial modeling theory. And then of course I'm going to look at the tech. So people that come into full stack will be able to, firstly, they can be anywhere in their own journey. So it can be anyone from a really basic Excel all the way to a professional financial modeler. So, my father-in-law said to me, why are you training people to do what you do? And I said, look, in the end, there's more demand for the skill of modeling than there is supply at the moment. Not many people know how to do this. And I want to help people. I want to be able to enable them. So what we're building is a community. So one, we've got content, which is Excel mastery, advanced financial modeling, and financial modeling tech, which is the part that I look at. So as I said, look at all the different parts, but this is a community. So people will not only get the content, but they'll be part of the community. We'll be able to solve each other's problems. We'll be having live sessions. We're going to talk about mindset and disc profiling and self-awareness and personal canvas, which is one of my favorites, which is like a business canvas, but for a person, right? So you look at your personal canvas and say, well, where do I want to go? What am I going to do? Because if I don't have purpose and things start to get difficult, then I'm going to give up. But if I have purpose, and for me, my purpose is to help finance professionals understand the power of decision-making beyond just Excel, beyond just understanding finance and accounting, but actually you can have such an amazing life. I've seen such amazing countries and met so many amazing people as a result of my financial modeling. So I think we want people to embrace it. We also want to help people that are really struggling. So I think now modeling is becoming more frequent and people are doing lots of copying and pasting, or they're very inefficient. And in fact, what often happens is you have like your expert Excel guy or girl for that matter, sitting in a corner, smashing out all the spreadsheets. And actually we want to release those people because we think that they've got other talents outside of just building Excel. So we want to enable the technology to make their job easier so they could do other amazing things. So Full Stack Modeler is an online learning training community for financial modelers and finance professionals.
Awesome. So now if people are looking for Model Citizen online, where can they find it?
So just modelcitizen.com, MODELCITIZN. There's no E in citizen because there were fashion models that got Model Citizen with an E first before me. And so I had to and I wanted .com, so I had to drop the E. And of course I did martial arts. So Zen and the Zen Buddhist and kind of aligns to the martial arts. So modelcitizen.com. And then, for Full Stack, it's www.fullstackmodeler, 2 L's for modeler, but we also bought the single L because I know that's the American spelling. We've got that as well, .com. So both of those.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, are you guys on social media? Do you share any content there or any updates?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm LinkedIn's probably the best place to get me. There's obviously the LinkedIn page for both Model Citizen and Full Stack. I've wrote and collaborated with experts around the world on an article series called Spreadsheeter to Financial Modeler. And we have a financial modeling knowledge hub. So we actually built an app using Glide apps. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's got like a Google Sheet back in and it's got a customized front end, no to low code. And so it's a knowledge app that we built with a whole range of materials. So I've written lots of LinkedIn articles that people can have a look at. And we're going to continue to do that. We've also got a YouTube channel for both Full Stack Modeler and Model Citizen. I've got YouTube channels. And then I created a YouTube channel a number of years ago around the future of financial modeling, because modeling is changing so quickly that the tools that we're using are going beyond just Excel. So Excel's not dead, but there's a lot of other things that we need to know and how to use things like Power BI, for example.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, awesome. Now, I also heard that you will be doing some kind of contribution to the numbers guy. So can you give us a little bit of preview about what we can possibly expect there?
Yeah, so I think J Mac and Kyle and I have been talking for a number of years around how we help the numbers guys and sort of that there's content that they put out which is very useful to the community. For me, I don't have a big presence in the US, and the numbers guys is part of that. We also do a bit of work with Steve Roswald and CFO University. In fact, he might be a good guest for you to interview one time. So I think the numbers guys really is a great community where we can also similarly help people that are local, and so the numbers guys is really part of, I guess, my broader ecosystem. When you get into this gig economy world where you have all these sort of collaborations, this is one of those collaborations for Model Citizen, and also now for Full Stack. So the numbers guys is definitely part of that broader ecosystem of collaboration.
Awesome. Now, before we wrap up, one question I like to ask every guest that comes on is, when you think about your skill set, you think about, your journey and your process of building two different companies. What's two pieces of advice that you would share with other entrepreneurs?
Two pieces of advice. Well, I should have read this one because that's a hard one. I'd say the first one is know your purpose, know your why. Right. I think if you're an entrepreneur or you're building a business and you don't understand or clearly resonate with your why, in the Simon Sinek why, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And if you're really passionate about your why, then everything else will just sort itself out. I honestly believe that. So if you clear it about what you want to do and why you want to do it, then that's really important. If you're not, and getting a job to get a salary is not a why, that's an outcome, that's a what. So I think people, work in certain fields or, like I started in finance and accounting because of a what? Because of money. Because I said, okay, well, I want to be an accountant. I don't know why I want to do stuff. I don't know why I want to become an accountant. I just want to have a good salary and a good job. And that's what I'm going for. So I think people get into whatever they get into, whatever business or venture they get into for the what, the money or the stat, like that stuff fades very quickly. Gotta know your why. And then I think the key thing is empathy. I think it's a really important part to be as a leader as well when you're building teams or even when collaborating. And look, I'm not perfect, and I've made some mistakes in my life, and recognizing that and actually listening to people and being empathic is important as part of being a leader, but also understanding and navigating that uncertainty. You're going to make mistakes. So what are you going to do? Blame someone else for it, or are you going to take accountability for that? So I think, empathy. Can I throw in a third? Mindset.
Yep.
So I think mindset comes in all of that, but and particularly a growth mindset. So I'd say, because two is pretty hard to just stick to two. So I always like three-way models. So mindset underpinned by empathy is critical, and of course, know your why. Those three things are critical.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Lance, thank you so much for coming on the show. Always a pleasure to have other great finance minds, and we'll definitely include the link so people can find Model Citizen and Full Stack Modeler to join the community to really take their modeling, their understanding of modeling, and just the importance and their skill set in that area to the next level. So thanks for coming on the show.
Awesome. Thanks, Terrell. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to the Business Talk Library. If you like our content, be sure to follow us on social media. And if you want to see more of our exclusive content, you can subscribe and become a member on patreon.com/Business Talk Library. Hey, the Business Talk Library is the place where business makes sense.